website was down today. Every time you click on, every time you click on Facebook City Gibraltar, it was just blank pages.
I was on it probably like an hour ago, let's see if I can still get out.
And then again, my internet was out for, I couldn't get none of my stuff for a while too, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's working fine for me now.
Okay.
Good reminder to close the tab.
This is actually nice because now I have my actual computer here.
Good evening, everyone. How are you guys?
Where's my emotional support cat?
He's in the gazebo with the white ranger, not happy with the lawnmower.
He's being her emotional support cat.
She doesn't like the lawnmower.
Well, you're up on Facebook now for sure for the city council, the meeting study sessions. What do I know about this stuff?
It is happy.
Yeah, exactly. Some days it works and some days it doesn't.
Yeah, like I couldn't get emails, Xfinity's emails were down all day yesterday. It had kicked me out like 3 times, they had to reset my password
Who
3
do you
times.
have your internet with?
Comcast,
Comcast?
Xfinity, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I gotta get on it. Everything's just too much money anymore.
Oh, I know. I went to, I had, WOW for the longest time, for my internet as well as my TV. They kept raising it so much. I finally went to AT&T Fiber for my internet, $40 a month. I love it.
I like to have a DVR and stuff, but yeah, they raise the rates like $250 a month. That's internet, household, and everything.
Yeah,
Landline.
it's crazy. It's crazy the price of that stuff now.
And all these power outages,
Yeah.
DT saying, oh, mine went off 3 times. I lost my printer, I was just tired of doing it, then it went.
AV's looking okay?
We were trying to figure out who it was.
Can we get everybody green? We're 1 minute away.
Hello.
Yeah, no, it is.
All right, the clock has struck 15. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'd love to welcome you to the study session that we are focused on our full year 26-27 proposed budget. City Administrator, anything you'd like to start off with?
I would just like to thank our finance director for all of her incredible work on this, along with our department heads. It was not an easy budget, as council is aware. Our expenditures increase over our revenues this year, and so a lot of departments collectively made a lot of big sacrifices. So you'll see that reflected today, and I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone for accepting that process and understanding that we have the opportunity now to move forward in the right path. So, thank you.
Amazing. Clerk Tomasic, did you want to call roll even though this is a study session?
Sure. Schumate,
Here.
Bosmer,
Here.
Cox, Dill,
Here.
Lapointe, McNabb,
Here.
Molnar.
Since this is a study session, there will be no motions or action taken, including the excusing of absent members. But before we get started, I would like to open up the floor for any public comment. Is there any public comment?
Lenore Bolthouse, 30567 Young. I just want to understand, so I know you normally don't, I know during council meetings you don't talk back to us, but this is a study session, so I want to understand, you're going over the budget, I get it. We're going to find out where cuts, increases, where it all lands. When does the public get to say anything about it? Is that at the May 11th?
Yeah, and I'll be walking through the timeline today, and I wanted to go above and beyond to give the members of the public who chose to attend today the opportunity to comment, but you'll have a whole public hearing on May 11th to do so.
Okay, because I do understand, like you said, the sacrifices that the department heads have made. I understand that, and I understand it's increases too. I mean, we have inflation and different things like that. So you can't cut a lot of things because you have to also embed for inflation. An example I'm going to use is John Sant for his, when the pump station goes down or something, we never know what a part cost is going to be. So, I mean, we can kind of guess based on some of it, but you don't know. So I was just wondering when, like, digesting it and seeing it today, when does the public get to say, hey, what about this line item or something like that?
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Public hearing will be on the 11th. And
11th.
all of this will be posted publicly. Today is just the study session with council.
Right, exactly, for you
Absolutely.
guys to make changes if you wish or something. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenore.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please.
And the public is always welcome to stop by my office and talk to me as well.
Yes, the amazing crew is in the office each and every day, including Amy, and she's very receptive to feedback and questions and always has a good response.
Your city.
Yes. We're very grateful. I want to, last comment before I go ahead and jump into the presentation, which is just tremendous thanks to Finance Director McEwen, to City Administrator Witherspoon, to Clerk Tomasic, who always keeps us honest in the chambers, and to all the department heads, because this is a product of their proposal, and us as voting members are responsible for reviewing all that proposal, discussing that proposal, and landing a budget. And your public hearing will be on the 11th, and I'll jump in for a presentation which has the broader timeline. Any questions before I get to the slides? Council, I sent you a copy of this via email just so you have a reference copy, but thought it'd be a good framing for today's discussion before we get to the details that were sent to you last week. All right, so I'd like to start with just framing what the slide deck is intended to encompass. We'll talk through the process that we go through from a budgetary cycle perspective. We'll hit on the key objectives and guiding principles that shape our budgetary approach. We will overview our finances, including double clicks across the spectrum. We will discuss how we view operating changes and how that's driven the current budget proposal. And then we will focus on projects, key projects and strategic focus areas as it relates to not only current cycle, but forward-looking horizon. Per Lenore's question up front, we want to make sure that we're clear on the calendarization. So for those that can't see the slides, we adopt a budget calendar in December of 2025, specifically December 15th. That allows us to lay out each step of this process. Finance Director McEwen begins her revenue and expenditure forecasting in March of 2026. We then have meetings with Finance Director and all the department heads as it relates to their budgets in early April. She meets with City Administrator Witherspoon, coming out of department head meetings in mid-April, and then I got a first look at the proposal on April 28th of 2026. But before today, I had a chance to speak with City Administrator Witherspoon and Finance Director McEwen to provide some earlier input that helped shape the packets that you received last week. City Council reviews the budgets in public hearing, which obviously this is a study session, not a public hearing, but we're going to debate and discuss the budget that's been shared with Council as of last week. We'll then have our public hearing, and that's going to be scheduled for May 11th. And then City Council will need to adopt the budget and millages. Our charter states by the second meeting of May, and so we'll target the 26th of May for that. When you look at the objectives and guiding principles, obviously these are philosophical but very practical for how we orient our minds as we approach the budgetary cycle. Transparency, this is taxpayer dollars, and every dollar should be visible to the taxpayers. So every year when we go through this process, we not only publish all the information via our digital channels, but we discuss and publish the recordings of the meetings. So you'll have a look at every detail, and if for any reason you feel like you had more questions that weren't answered in these forums, as our department head, like Finance Director McEwen mentioned, we are available for questions, and all of our emails are on the city website. Moving forward, I think it's a philosophical need that we continue to look at the future in front of us with openness, optimism, and persistence. There's a lot of work to be done. Work takes dollars and strategic prioritization, and I think a part of the slides you'll see today reinforces not only where we're at, but where we need to go and how the horizon needs to be shaped by all of us. We need to look at technology to efficiently and effectively serve our residents, the businesses that are in our community, and making investments in Gibraltar and all those that visit. I think we've done a lot of great strides in the technology space, and many of you have been a part of those decisions, driving efficiency and effectiveness, as well as accountability and transparency in our financials. Service orientation, I think we do this, all of us are up here because of our residents and our community. And so everything we do should remain focused on the people that put us in these seats. And so we want to remain focused on what Gibraltar needs. Reliable infrastructure and any way of reducing cost are key guiding principles every budget cycle. This slide has not changed materially in the time that I've been in office, and that's for a reason, because of the principles that guide. And we want to continue to look at our professional services. I think we've made great strides in that category, but we got to continue to hold accountability to the professional services outside of our internal operation. From an objective or theme perspective, collaboration, I think we've done a really good job as a city and the officials sitting in front of me around collaborating with the surrounding neighbors that we have. You'll see many examples of that, extreme examples being the consolidation of dispatch from Rockwood, but ultimately day-to-day collaboration with our communities, learning from one another, partnering with one another, and finding synergies across one another. We constantly are in touch with our state and federal officials. Examples of that could be dollars that we've received, whether it be the West Jefferson Water Main grant that we received, the lead line grants that we received, bridge grants that we received, many examples to discuss, and obviously we want to continue to look for more dollars moving forward, which will be a theme captured in these slides. We want our community and our residents and the stakeholder expertise they bring to be a key part of these cycles. We're incredibly grateful. Examples such as the Infrastructure Advisory Committee, examples such as when a hot topic arises in our community, the passion of our residents coming in with expertise that help inform how we view topics has been incredibly important and beneficial. We want to engage our community relentlessly. I know we have office hours for many of us. We have an open door policy for many of us. We have our emails and in my case, I'm sure many people have my cell phone. We always welcome your voice because we're here to serve you. We're here because of you. And I think if we can focus on study sessions like today, the public hearing like the 11th, and all the interactions in between, I think we will effectively engage our community in this process every step of the way. And nothing happens without the employees that are here every day. We're sitting in chambers as elected officials and policy drivers, but the people that make this really secret sauce happen are sitting in that office each and every day and have a firsthand look at the daily needs of our operation and how that relates to the dollars, and ultimately how we have to make trade-offs in the budget capacities they have within individual departments. The theme of maintaining Gibraltar's character and quality of life is a headline that's been on this slide for the last 3 budget cycles. We need to take a critical look at how we view our zoning ordinances, and obviously you all are well aware that we have a committee and a grant that's allowing us to take a critical look at that and how we land use plan. Infrastructure, everything from the work that we've done on lead lines to we're now on our 3rd water main replacement, at least so in the time that I've been privileged to be in office. Bridges, we're a very unique community with 8 bridges, and those bridges need support. DDA, our roads, our utilities, and our buildings. They've all been key focus areas, and we've made strides, but there's an incredible amount of work to do in front of us. We need to figure out how we plan for that financial capacity to enable addressing those needs. Market competitiveness to attract and retain quality employees. We want to have good people in good seats and make sure they're happy and fulfilled and empowered to stay here for the long term. And obviously that benefits all of us in this community. And so I'm really grateful for all those that are in their current seats and all of the service vendors that we have that support the day-to-day. And then ultimately this is about sustainability and accountability. We can't be short-sighted in how we plan. So looking at the capital improvements program and the horizon of costs, looking at how we continue to review our service costs and drive efficiencies, looking at how we propose a 5-year plan for capital improvements since we can't bite it all off at once. Thinking about public safety and the imperative nature and our investment in that, which we'll break down further in the slides. With that, it's a great segue into the financial overview. So what you're looking at here, for those that can see the slide, is revenue by source. Each slice of this pie is not only color-coded, but gives you a percentile. And ultimately, on the right-hand side, that percentile is tied to an absolute. And that absolute then obviously has the married percentile. I want to commend Finance Director McEwen. I'm glad to address any questions. I won't go line by line. But the headline is that from a revenue perspective, property taxes and water sewer revenues represent 60% of the overall. And council and members of public, as you visualize these slides at your own term, you'll see that that table is also color-coded to see what is dialed up and what is dialed down, and green and red accordingly. So I encourage you to take a look at that. When we look at the headlines from a financial revenue perspective, we have some good news to propose to this community in this discussion, which is from a property tax perspective, we have a proposed millage reduction of 0.4833. In my time here, third budget cycle I've been a part of, this is the third millage reduction in a row, so great signal for our community and obviously a testament to all that made it possible. Taxable value growth was at 1.6%. Water sewer and rates, council, my peers, we have an opportunity to take a look at a water rate study in May. I think that'll be incredibly informative on where we're at and where we need to go. So I look forward to working with you all on that. For a nuance, though, that everybody's familiar with in society today, for cash payments moving forward, pennies will no longer be available for transaction purposes, and I think we can all appreciate the evolution of society there. And then the last bullet, just as a note that's important in context of the data you're looking at, which is the intergovernmental reflects internal fund transfers, which include solid waste, roads, water, DDA, Act 51, and our state shared revenue. To break down the headline of the millage reduction of 0.4833, the table in front of you breaks down the millage rates, breaks down from 2021 to 2026 full year, and the associated change. And you'll see some sub-bullets there for reference. But again, headline is important, which is this will be our third budget cycle in a row that we've reduced our millage, and in this case by 0.4833. Shout out to City Administrator Witherspoon and Finance Director McEwen, because I think this is a very practical slide. If you look at this slide, it's, many taxpayers might say, where's my money going? Funds collected from our millage rates can be broken down to $1.93 a resident per day, which is roughly the cost of going and buying a Hershey's bar. I know we think about taxes. I know all of us in society are facing affordability considerations at large. I know that from a millage reduction, we've just told you that the last 3 cycles I've had a part of, we've reduced the millage. But some of the taxation, as we've discussed publicly, is out of City of Gibraltar's control. That's dependent on other factors. So I want to make sure we're very clear on that. And also to lay this into practical terms, as you're sitting there at home watching this, or you're sitting in the seats here, where's your dollars going? And I think it's really important context to think about that from a per resident per day perspective. That's $1.93. And that $1.93 goes to predominantly police and fire department, parks and rec, DPW, elections, resident services, followed by garbage yard waste, and then followed by water and sewer projects, followed by road and bridge repairs in City Hall. And so that the biggest slice of that bar is going to be that first reflection of police and fire, parks and rec, DPW, elections, resident services. But for those that don't see the visual, we'll have this all published. Obviously, we go through the public hearing and subsequent publication, and just an interesting way to contextualize what your dollars go towards as an individual. Let's get to our major operating funds and just kind of touch on the fiscal health of each. General fund, I know Finance Director McEwen had spoken with some members of council, including myself. Big picture, Finance Director McEwen, would you like to speak to just the percentage from a general fund basis compared to best practice considerations and where we're at as a City of Gibraltar?
Okay, so where we're at, we have about a 40% fund balance. Now, with us being a small community, I did talk to Plant Moran, and you kind of want to be around 35 to 38% with it being a smaller community, just because it's harder for us to recoup that, and that is our emergency costs, such as like if something goes down and we have to repair that, fund balance should be used for that. My biggest issue with the current pull from fund balance, besides the 70K that we're probably going to get reimbursed from the state, we don't know for sure. Most of that is operating expenses and to keep us afloat. There isn't really many one-time expenditures, and you want to try to avoid pulling from fund balance for something that's going to hit year after year after year.
Very helpful, and I thought it was an important context point. So if you think about it, we are exceeding the best practice target, but there's a lot of trajectory considerations that we should not be in a mindset of pulling from the fund balance in context of the long-term risk. It also you got to think about what you are pulling for, and are those going to be perpetual costs, and how does it relate to the trajectory curve? How does it relate to unknowns of economic and societal considerations and all the other factors that determined our pie? So I thank you, Amy, for framing it, which is, as of today, I think we are in a solid position, but we need to be very mindful of how that trajectory goes. Amy, do you want to give, just for those that don't have a sheet of paper, the dollar amount we have in our general fund as well?
It's 2.1 and some change, I believe. But I was just going to say also, you got to think that at any point, I hate to say this, John could be coming to us and going, this is breaking in the building, how am I going to pay for it? And we have to be able to manage that.
So we're very lucky to have a very fiscally responsible finance director who has led us to a strong position financially, but we need to be mindful of that trajectory, and if we're going to pull any perpetual costs and the trajectory implications that may have. But thank you for sharing the framing, Amy, because as you can see in the budget, pending the $70,000 reimbursement from the state, which is not a certain item, the current not balanced budget includes a draw of $148,015, and that's all broken out in the budgetary proposal. And when you look at wages and benefits, make up 69.45% of our total general fund budget, with retirees making up 10.25% of the general fund budget. So it's important to consider those wages and benefit, as well as legacy or retiree cost considerations in context of our budgetary trajectory. Major street fund, our operating budget is balanced. We got a modest fund equity for road and bridge projects. Local street fund, similarly, operating budget is balanced. We're spending down a fund balance by 75 to 85%. DDA fund, operating budget is balanced, a fund balance of approximately $500,000. You'll see the color coding helps kind of signal where we want to call your attention to current state. Going to the next slide, you'll see the major operating funds and fiscal health summary for capital improvements, voted millage. This is our final year. That operating budget is balanced. Big spend down will be occurring with our West Jefferson water main in the order of $1.3 million. We'll also be taking pump inventory. Water sewer fund, I mentioned to you already that we have a water study pending review by council. And based on strategic expertise and guidance, we're also looking at those funds being split, and addition of tracking software that helps us drive better accountability, accounting, transparency, and ultimately strategic planning. Pension funds, operating budget is balanced, and you can see those funds are very healthy in their current state. Per the last actuary review, our police is overfunded 110.8%, employee at 124.7%. Retiree healthcare operating budget is balanced as well, and this fund is basically a pay-as-you-go model. This slide gives you a pie chart, a bar graph chart that shows you the dollar amounts across the funds, with the blue being the balance and the orange being the expenditures. If we look at the general fund and the sources of our fund, so if you look at the pie chart, similar to the earlier pie chart, you have percentiles on the pie with color coding accordingly, and then on the right side, you're going to have the absolutes broken out. And just thanks to Amy, because she's flagged in green and red for the year-over-year trends. In the table on the right, property taxes and state revenues are over 60% of our general fund revenues. If you look at general fund expenditures, and this would obviously parallel in some ways the pie or the chocolate bar slide, but on the left you'll see the pie chart. You'll have the color coding, the percentiles. On the right you'll see the table with the absolutes, and again, green and red color coding accordingly. Headline takeaway here is that police, fire, and DPW make up 70% of our general fund expenditure. Okay, so as we looked at the earlier agenda that I laid out for these slides, this slide is really focused on some strategic operating considerations. I'll read them. First is the DPW Assistant Director position and the addition of that, which has a lot of strategic advantages that we've discussed publicly as council. Second is asset management and maintenance software. Third is ensuring sustainability, empowering our fire department by making our fire captain a part-time position, which provides necessary operational support for the day-to-day operation. Fourth is creating long-term employment sustainability program in the fire department at large. So beyond that operational support at the captain level part-time position, making sure that our people that are out there serving our community as firefighters have a long-term sustainability curve and retention for wanting to be a part of this community and deliver results for our community in their capacity. Next up is lead line grant. I know we've discussed this topic quite exhaustively, and obviously many of our residents have seen us getting out to work in the community to address this lead line inspection and ultimately replacement effort. $178,000 remaining will need to be spent by August, so obviously a key strategic focus with the milestone deadline as expressed in August. We anticipate contractual increases in solid waste and recycling services. Obviously, we all have worked through contracts and considerations there. And then we also know that the healthcare space and insurance costs have presented immense challenges for many communities. And so thanks to Finance Director McEwen and others, we've gotten some preliminary reads on an anticipated trajectory there and want to make sure that we're acknowledging the anticipated increase in insurance costs. Taking the next slide into consideration as you think about some key projects we have in place. Horse Island Bridge and the advancement we've had on that project for the focus on restoration, feasibility evaluations. Looking at federal funding opportunities for the Young Street Bridge, both 1 and 2 obviously have been discussed quite extensively with council and through study sessions and in partnership with Collins Engineering and other experts. Continuing our activities on the lead and copper grant, again, I mentioned that in the previous slide. West Jefferson Water and Main Project, I mentioned that earlier, leveraging the $1 million grant that we received. Land inventory of city-owned properties is a critical priority for us, and assessing not only the inventory, but the forward-looking pathway considerations. Recasting Leaders Program to support our small businesses, and then enhancing our recreation programming. Big shout out to Hannah and the Parks and Rec Commission for advancements they've made, including financial impacts already, but I think that's a key strategic focus area that we need to have in our vision. So this slide is meant to be very high level and conceptual, but to bundle everything up from what we've talked about, where are we going from here? I think what you'll see in the budget proposal in front of you is we want to make sure we continue to set the strong foundation that we have, make sure the policies, procedures, inventories, capital planning, and additional revenue source identification are key priorities in the near term. We want to segue as we look at the next calendar year for budgetary purposes on making sure we execute against those bridge needs, including Horse Island, Young Drive, and Gibraltar. We then want to make sure we know roads are a huge need from a structural improvement perspective, and obviously, hopefully find ways to unlock resources through the mentioned avenues. But we want to make sure that we lay out a clear prioritized plan for our roads and execute on them accordingly. Water and sewer, and making sure we continue our efforts and advancing on our existing efforts with the lead service lines and water mains. And then segueing into municipal buildings with a focus on City Hall, DPW, and community centers. So it's intended to give kind of a vision of prioritization for discussion as we think about our capacity, our health and our funds and sustainability, and where we can seek advancement of projects beyond the foundations we've already built together. So I'm really excited for this budget cycle. I wanted to give a little strategic perspective through the slides. You have all these in your inbox. Members of public, beyond today's public presentation, these will be ultimately published for each of you to take a further look at. But I'll stop talking and let's get to our discussion. Thank you.
I think we want to start off by just asking if anyone has any questions or concerns based on what was presented and given to council so far.
I guess, if I may, more so questions. I see Board of Elections here, new election machines. 90 grand is budgeted for expenses. I see in that. Why? Guess if I can ask bluntly.
Yeah. So the state of Michigan's in the middle of an RFP process to update voting equipment. So, and this is probably gonna cause all municipalities to completely replace our current equipment.
Okay. Is that what we were looking at, that 70 that might be reimbursed then? Okay.
Yep.
Correct.
So, Bureau of Elections, probably every single clerk in the state is, pushing for the voting equipment to be funded, in the state budget. And as far as I know, the governor's proposed budget does include it, but it's not a sure thing until that budget's passed.
Mm-hmm.
And, it could cover 100%, it could cover just portion.
Okay.
And, clerks have been advised to budget an estimate of 15,000 per precinct. So we have precinct 1, precinct 2,
And then ABs.
absentee, early voting, and a backup.
Okay.
So that's 5.
Have we heard anything from our state rep and state senator on have we reached out to them to tell them this is important, given that we're running a deficit? So we have reached out to them.
Yeah,
Have-
and like I said, this is, clerks all over the state are dealing with this right now.
Do they
and, like,
seem,
fingers crossed.
like they'll support it? Obviously, it's an election year. We'll see,
Yeah.
with the state budget. Okay.
Is there any value for our existing ones on resale? Because I know that they're not old, I mean, we just,
Well, and I said, if we end up sticking with our current vendor, do we have to replace everything? That wouldn't seem reasonable, and I did not get a straight answer out
but
of
I
it.
wonder if there's a resale value to some other communities that might, because our newest one is less than 2 years old.
They're
Right.
two, they're,
Yeah.
both of them
I
are
think
pretty
the
new.
problem is we wouldn't be able to resell them to anyone in Michigan because it's a statewide
Yeah,
kind
right.
of
There might,
thing.
is there a possibility to sell it outside the state? I mean,
I mean, it's
Is it heard
always
of?
possible. We can definitely put them up for auction like we do with other municipal equipment.
okay.
So that's that reason, and then, also an additional 15 grand for typical election expenses for a minimum of 2 elections this fiscal year, possibly 3, because there could always be a special election in May.
Okay. All right, if I may continue. I see, I believe it's for the land fund, we're paying ourselves back for the stretchers. Is that something we could potentially amend that resolution that was passed to defer that to, I don't know, a couple fiscal years, to at least soften the blow, if you will? This year's the last year for the payoff, I believe.
Yeah,
Could we defer that, because we're just paying ourselves back, if we could just defer that for another fiscal year when, it might be better for us?
I mean, we could, that's always feasible, but the main reason I would recommend against that is because we're probably gonna be looking at needing new stretchers really soon. So we're gonna be probably looking at a new loan for that. They're nearing the end of their life.
Is that now, that useful life, what determines that? The state of Michigan, and again, I'm ignorant to this, is it the state of Michigan saying so many years went by, thou shall change it out, or is it just by feel? What's that mechanisms that's saying, okay, it's at the end of its useful life?
Pretty much everything in the fire department is based on years.
Okay.
How many years it's been in operation.
Okay. Because we purchased those not too long, within the last 5-6 years. So stretchers only have a 5 to 6 year lifespan on them, give or take?
Yes, because you have to think of how much they're in use. So
Yeah.
if they're a heavy used item and there's a lot of wear and tear on them, so that's why their life cycle is so small.
Okay. But we make that trigger based on year and age that the state's mandating. Is that mandated by the state?
I believe our fire department advised us that it is a requirement. I'm not sure who it's a
Okay.
requirement by, whether it's the fire association or not our fire association, but national, so,
Okay.
And I think she said they were nearing their year end of life cycle.
yes.
I know it happened the year before I started, I believe, a year or two before I started is when you guys purchased them.
Okay.
Something, get some follow-up clarity there.
Yeah, fire assistant or fire captain we saw up here, I saw fire assistant down here. What are we looking at for an increase for that position? Unless I missed something, today is the first I've heard of that assistant and fire assistant. So what do we, what's that bump up gonna look like from last year's?
So Amy has the exact number, but the reason it's the first time you're hearing of it is because it was a proposal actually by the mayor as part of his budget.
Yeah, and that's
So
fine.
this is the discussion chance for that one.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
and that's why I'm
and
asking, you know.
I'll let Finance Director McKeon speak to the numerics.
Okay,
In my observations and in my speaking with our leadership across the fire department and broader personnel, I think we need to address the sustainability and the workload pressure on our fire chief and making sure we're highest and best use for what we need from her on a day-to-day basis. And obviously, she's not here full-time.
Yep.
And so with that model, most other fire chiefs, if you look at analogous situations, if you're making the trade-off with that part-time, I thought that this was a very helpful leveraging and a very amazing leader in the department already, and Schaefer, to allow what is his current workflow to be supplemented with additional compensation to take on some of that operational day-to-day burden and oversight. So I think the problem statement addresses is sustainability and bandwidth management for top-down leadership with all that we put upon them, which then helps them be more present and better leaders in addition to more effective administrators of the leadership for the broader department. So that's one layer, and she can speak to the numerics, but we wanted to make sure that was a fair approach for all parties involved. The other layer, which is the other bullet that you mentioned, was transparently, I want to make sure we look at our firefighters. For all of you that have been a part of the study sessions and other elements of that topic, the data around the runs and the engagement, and find ways to give upside incentivization for their participation where we need them. So that's the second bullet, which is additional funds for which we can structure compensation that gives upside incentive for calls and presence on a firefighter basis. So Amy can speak to the details, but that was the headline thought
okay,
process.
understood.
Yeah, I believe it was around 10 to 11,000, so
10
it
to
wasn't,
11,000.
wasn't a huge amount.
And then the incentive is 12,000.
Yeah, and forgive me, I don't mean it, you know,
No, it's
by
good.
saying that this was the first time I'm here, but not as, you know, derogatory, it's just factually, this is the first time I'm hearing of it, and that's why I'm asking.
Can we pause just to make sure I heard what I think I heard? So
Yeah.
on that, so she will be a part-time employee and her total compensation, the proposal is 23,000?
Sorry, to be clear, so Fire Chief Simon, as is her current agreement established, Schaefer is where we'd offer this additional compensation, which would unlock part-time focus for him to contribute to the operational day-to-day that the fire chief is currently trying to
So it's
manage.
an assistant for the chief of fire.
Kind of. His technical title right now, he does act as an assistant to the chief. He is the captain, the fire captain. So what we'd be doing is instead of him coming in and being paid what the rest of the firefighters are paid when they're doing just they call them their like chores where they clean the ambulances and things like that. He would have set hours, part-time hours, where he can handle more of the administrative workload that our current part-time model with our part-time fire chief is not helping facilitate.
Yeah, and it's also beyond just the contributions administratively, it's like the leadership presence, right?
Yep.
Because our fire chief is not here full-time, and so the two of them could
Are we
collaborate to figure out.
currently compensating the fire chief on a part-time basis? So she
Yes.
is not getting
Correct.
that plus paid calls?
Correct.
Yes.
She just gets that. And so you're proposing this for him. And I did meet with her when I was just elected, and it sounds like there's way more reporting things that need to be done now.
Precisely.
So she just seemed like there weren't enough hours
It-
in the day, and I understand that.
I think she's done a phenomenal job with the department. I think we made that very clear publicly. I think I'm concerned about the sustainability of the model, and without her being full-time, this gives us an unlock financially to support her on a leadership basis.
I just want, oh, go ahead. No.
Would would Captain Schaefer, sorry, still be making calls, making runs?
Yes.
We looked at that analytics and context, and that would already be baked into the existing operating budget.
Yep.
So
Part of the
maybe this
collective-
plus calls.
Part of the collective thought, Pat Valentine was the deputy chief a handful of years ago, and he was on payroll for a season, and he offloaded some of the work from Chief Branham, and before that was Van Kelberg. So this model's been used before in the past, so you know.
So you're solving three things with the overall bullets. One, leadership administration. Two, leadership presence. And then the second bullet is solving incentives for the firefighters to deliver service to our community.
But I mean, if this is the beginning of a move towards a full-time fire department, I'm not going to support that. I don't think this community will ever be able to afford that. So I'm just gonna say that out loud. I'll support her to help her get the help she needs for this budget year, but I would like in our strategic priorities, if there is a movement in that direction, that we would talk about that as a team.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if I may, one more.
Yeah, please.
Final one. Rachel, I know I reached out via email more directly about the Assistant DPW Director position and then funding for that. You know, keep me honest here. Typically, it's about $5,000 a month for Benesh for their level 2 license, give or take, on average. Am I?
So actually, our last two bills have both topped $10,000 a month.
Okay,
So our average skews between 6,000 to 7,000.
67,000.
And that's for someone who is not here on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. And with, so we're looking at for 12 months, about 72, if we're using the low end, about 72,000 a year for Benesh, that would fund that position. Or that's what
Partially,
anticipated
yeah.
to fund the position.
Yeah,
Obviously, we have
partially
fringe
funded.
benefits that
Yeah.
would be, and the reason I just bring it up publicly, because obviously we see the gap there, that 150 grand, give
Yeah.
or take. And obviously justifying to the residents that, well, actually, we're trading,
Exactly.
in layman's terms, we're trading one expense for another, because I don't want residents thinking we're just, clearly it's the operating costs that are driving our gap here. And really, it's just a trade-off, not, we're adding to the,
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's
you're-
a trade-off with added services to our residents as well.
understood.
And
Yep.
furthermore, your 148 headline, while not certain, could be 78 when you get that
Correct.
70 back, which further rationalizes exactly the trade-off.
And I just want to, like I said, I want to at least plan for the worst. And
Agreed.
then, you know, because the state of Michigan, we can all assume anything with the state. So
Agreed.
I'll leave it at that. And that's all I had at this moment that piqued my
Thank you.
interest.
I
So,
appreciate it. This side of the table, any questions, comments, concerns?
I'm interested in what we're thinking about with the Cook building itself, and we put it in, winterized it and so forth, and, yeah, we have any thoughts on what do we want to do going forward? Are we going to really utilize that building? Could we sell it? Could we offload some of that cost?
So going forward, starting in May at least, we have some events being held in there. Hannah is trying to start up a indoor farmers market / vendor show in there during Music in the Park. She's also looking to utilize it for pickleball and some other things. She's being very creative. So as part of our land inventory that we complete over the next year or so, I would love for council to really take a look at the Cook Center, look at what she's done to increase revenue, and take a very critical look. Is that revenue worth it? Is there more we can do, or is there something else we should be doing with that building?
We got the price point on that with the diocese in Detroit when I was on previously. I think it was like 75 grand they wanted, and we came back with 50. And we got all that property and the building for 50. We
Yeah.
thought at that time collectively, hey, it's, a pretty good investment. We didn't want just anything coming in there. And-
Yeah.
And being an either a detriment to our society and as a community. So that all being said, it's been a huge cost, and yeah, I'd like to really take a look at that too collectively, what we should be doing with that building and that property. I love that it's part of our park system. I don't know how we could ever split it off objectively to utilize it for maybe a homestead or something like that, and then how would that abut onto the park system? But stuff to think about. Thank you.
And that was part of the stuff with the previous year where we started trying to really break out everything to do with the Cook Center, including what we bring in for it and what is going out for it with the utilities and things, so that we can get a really clear picture as to what its cost actually is.
One thing that somebody brought up a while back was that there might be grant proceeds available if we dedicated it as a senior facility, senior recreation. Am I talking crazy, or is that something that is a real thing, or to anybody's knowledge?
I think we've done that before.
Yeah.
I think, keep me honest, but I think we did that. We were attempting that around 22 or 23, but got something with the senior bus grant instead. I could be wrong, but I think we did do something with designating it as a senior facility, and it was kind of alternating back and forth between Cook and
Hilbert?
I think, am I at least somewhat on track with what we did?
Yeah, I remember it, but the grant kind of, there's certain things that they're usually going to give you money for and certain things that they're not. And we were going for it to try and get the HVAC system replaced is what it
Never mind.
was.
Yep,
And we had a better shot with the van.
yep, thank you. That refreshed my memory.
So, but I don't think there's really funding sources to essentially keep it open and funded.
Okay, all right. It's one-time expenditures.
Yes.
But it's worth looking into. I think it's a great idea because other communities have their community centers, and they have senior centers. So if there's funds that just go for the senior center and we can get more money, we should look into that.
They usually only give us about 20K. That's the community block grant development, and that's usually what we use for our senior Meals on Wheels as well as our senior bus service. So we do get that fund, but it's kind of already tied up with other services for our residents.
Is throwing it out there. Through the county, since it comes out of our taxes, fortunately or unfortunately, for the park system, for the Wayne County, is there any potential partnership with the county with that facility that we can look into? I mean,
We can look into that. They usually offer about a 10K grant per year that we usually go out for and try to get,
okay.
which can, unfortunately, doesn't go very far in today's
Well, yeah.
society.
And I believe we got 5,000 for this year. as
Yeah.
well.
So that's usually about what they kind of offer.
Okay.
But we can definitely,
Get of something more like a partnership to where they get to do, I don't know what that would look like, but throwing it out there to where they're also footing footing some of the bill.
some of
I
those
mean-
utility costs, because
I
that's
mean-
that's what's killing us.
To where it's not just all on us, and I feel, I don't know for sure, that they have a robust county parks millage that may be able to cover that, or at least partner with us in some fashion.
Amy, what's our average on the Cook Center for like a year? Just on average HVAC and utilities?
Well, this past year, we're currently at 10,715. That was as of April. The year before, we didn't split it out right away. So I'm gonna say probably at least upwards of 20K. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but yeah.
Sizable. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? We, not public comment this time, but you'll have a hearing, Wayne, I promise.
What we could do in addition, if everybody would like to see it, I can see if I can get a cost-benefit analysis on the community centers. I know we kind of been working on a regular basis, but I don't know if that would be something you'd want at your next study session, just to see it, because I know you guys have scheduled regular study sessions, if that's something.
I believe the next study session is for the water rate.
Okay, so we don't want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I anticipate that's going to take a while.
So maybe on the upcoming one in June, if you guys wanted to see something like that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like that.
All right. So if you guys recall, in January, we went through and,
I'm sorry, I have
Yeah.
some more questions on the
absolutely.
budget.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but I
No,
think you're
go
going
for it.
ahead and I'm
Yeah.
not ready yet. So, back to the fund balance. They just, so I heard a couple things. We talked to Plant Moran, and they're recommending 35 to 38%.
Yes.
I'm hoping that this council could go out with a range and say, we commit that this is the low end. So best practices from the county, you say like 16 point something.
That's,
Let me finish. Not for a small town, so I understand.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna guess, we could all agree with maybe 28 being the bottom. And then what is the top then? Is it 38? I just want us as a council and mayor to say, that's our range of fund balance. We're not going below, we're not going above. You can't have too much fund balance.
Yep.
Does anybody want to talk to me about that?
I have thoughts, but I'd love to hear from my peers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on board too. You know, a threshold that we won't cross, and then we start digging in even deeper and making those hard decisions.
I'm not trying to put restrictions on us. I just think it would be a great idea to know that.
I think it's
And
a-
I love that you called them and asked, so thank you for that, because Plant Moran is our guiding light, right?
yes, yeah. And the only reason I would kind of caution it with this one, to like kind of spend down that extra 2% would just be because we're using it for operating costs. So I would kind of caution you guys to kind of maybe wait till the mid-year review and make sure we're looking okay and something weird didn't pop up.
What percentage of what? Percentage of annual expenditure?
Yes, it would go based on your percentage of annual expenditures.
And so that's, in how we look at it in a small business atmosphere is how many months of operating expenses do you keep in reserves?
Yep.
And in our perfect world, we try to keep 3 to 6 months with 3 being which is 30, which would be 25%.
Yep.
We don't like to get anywhere close to that. That's like,
You guys would
if
give
you
me a
have
heart
great
attack.
opportunity in front of you that is going to pay dividends on the back end, then we'll get close to that. But try to keep 6 months, so 50% is what we shoot for, to try and keep in operating tank.
And I just see a bullet on one of your slides, objectives. This is our fund balance range, so it doesn't get lost.
I think it's a really important.
Yeah, I could definitely support that. Like I said, I just kind of caution a little bit, especially when it's getting pulled down for operating expenses. But I'm the conservative one. I'm very conservative. Everybody has said that about me, so.
I mean, if we want to hold ourselves to something, we could use, obviously in a regular meeting, propose like a resolution or such.
policy.
Or, policy, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
to do that, or if we really want to hold ourselves to it, do it by ordinance.
I think-
That city council won't,
Yeah,
because that one's holding ourselves to it.
yeah, a fund balance policy is very, very common. You are correct. So, that is one thing that we do not have.
And I'm not willing to go down that lane. I don't want to puff our hands behind our back. It's just a framework that we
Yeah.
can say. And so I'm going to say, just to Rachel and Amy, like, low being, based on what you said, 25 is too low, it's 28, and then, maybe 38. So then we don't have to say, oh, we took 150,000 out of fund balance. Well, we're at 40, it's too high, we can.
Yeah.
So use it towards our projects, or am I not thinking?
Cities have a whole additional layer of protection that
Agreed.
small business doesn't have.
Agreed.
And so 50 would be
Extreme.
far too high. I don't think that 28 is unreasonable, and I don't think that 38 is unreasonable. It
Yeah.
seems like a fair position to be in.
Yeah, I agree. I think, one, I love having a framework for it because that does allow us to say, hey, we have this project we want to do. We have this extra money. Let's use it for that while keeping the savings where we want it to be, keep our savings target. I think what Amy's trying to caution everyone is that's not what we've been doing with fund balance the last few years. And if we continue to utilize fund balance just to cover operations, that trajectory is going to cause us to be in some trouble eventually. So I think for right now, it's more so a flag and it's a good call out of, okay, what's our range we want to be in? So for budgets moving forward, we know, hey, this is the range we want to be in. We've been working on increasing revenue, decreasing expenses, so we can utilize it for more of those one-off things, if that makes sense.
That's-
Leads me to my next key point that I want
Yeah.
to talk about, in that I cover your ears, Amy, because she doesn't, budgets aren't her favorite part of her job. So this is my Finance 101. I copied everybody and put it in the book. I had to take a refresher course. But I just want to say that this stuck with me. And I appreciate that you did it for the capital improvements, but I would like to have a conversation also about a real, because we don't know if what we're doing is sustainable, and you just said it.
Yeah.
So you're right, so if we have a fund balance and we take, and maybe 5 years is too long of a view, but at least a 3-year, you can call it a multi-year budget, you can call it financial projection, I don't care what we call it. But this reads, nearly every community that's in excellent financial health today has one thing in common, and that's it. They have a 5-year budget plan, or, they project out 5 years so they can see where they're gonna be.
And
I would hope that that would also be a consideration.
that is actually something that kind of goes back down to the foundational things and building a foundation, and something that, like, I've always wanted to do, but I've had a revolving door in that position, so it's been hard to have the support to help get that built out.
So let's talk about that for a second, since we're talking about money, because there's two things. We have several comments in the audit that make me insane. So we have some material weaknesses, and we have some deficiencies, and those need to be corrected. And they've been with us, and it's not, I don't know what it is, but I know that we have to fix it. And I think that it's a manpower thing. We don't have enough layers of approval, checks and balances. I don't really care what it is. I would like something from Plant Moran. If we need to bring them in and pay them a little bit of money to help us fix these two things so we can have a clear audit, I would like to talk about that funding like now.
I don't think that's going to be possible for us as a small community. They've even told me that a lot of these flags are very common for small communities. There isn't really fixes for them,
Kathy,
is what they flagged to me.
it's a
And
deep-
I can bring in Bill Bricky to talk to you about that as well.
It's a discussion we should deep dive on, because we've extensively looked at it for the last 2 budget cycles that I've been a part of the audit.
Yeah.
And I agree with Amy's commentary, including my meetings with them specifically. So we should talk about it, right? The practicality of it, what it would take to get there. And I think, sorry, just since we're on the topic, because before we leave the last topic, right? I want to make sure, and I know I can be triggering in this as a optimist in many capacities, but I want to make sure we level set on the foundation, at least over the last few years, and think about that in context of trajectory considerations, right? So as publicly showcased through our audits, the last 2 audits we had, we raised fund balance. To give you specific numbers, 2,900 or 2.976 million 23, 3.189 million 24, 3.3 million 25. So I just want to contextualize that. I'm not saying that's a trajectory trend that will remain, but it's a foundation that I think we should think about in this cycle. Then I think we should think about how we look at this draw in context of, to your point, the 28 to 38%, right? And contextualize the draw of 148 minus a potential 70 as a 78 plus draw in light of additions. And then to your point, the process controls is something we've deep dove on tremendously, but we should talk about that. I just don't think we have all the information for everybody here.
And I just brought it up, not to, point
Yeah.
a finger at anybody, because,
No, yeah.
it's been a 35, 40-year problem, and I'm not
That-
saying
that- and that's
any
it, yeah.
reflection on Amy or the administrator, but I don't believe that, I think every problem can be solved, but that's just my attitude in life.
I went into the same discussion
If we
mindset.
needed money, I just wanted to have the conversation. Now, I think I hear you asking us to get a few things in place, and it will resolve itself.
I think
And-
we should talk about it.
Allocate any funds to that now to get help.
And I think one of the things that's even happened is I've stepped back a lot on handling the front counter to make sure that we don't have that additional liability, because I'm not supposed to touch that because I do all the reconciliations. The biggest problem is staffing, and that would be a legacy cost. And that is the one thing that I am definitely cautioning everybody to not create any more legacy costs with this budget, please. Please and thank you. It would be against my advisement.
But there's temporary staffing agencies that we could, tap to do certain data input entries, things like that. There's solutions that don't necessarily.
Well, for the data entry, we've actually created a way to correct that. I can enter the journal entry, but Rachel has to approve all of my journal entries now.
That might just resolve the whole comment then. It's
Well, and I've gone and we have additional code, like we have a lot of bank processes that have been implemented. We have new software implemented. So what was surprising to me, Councilman LaPointe, was year over year, as we think about the immense implementation of structure, process, procedure, policy, accountability, checks and balances, we did all of that, and still the same findings popped up. And it was a challenge because the discussion was around what are the solutions to that, and I do agree with the general sentiment, but to your point, let's get us together. We obviously have an upcoming audit that we'll read out, and let's see what we can do from a solution perspective. Rachel, clearly that's something you want to say.
One of the biggest problems we have that's leading to the deficiencies in our audit, and every small community has, is cash handling. So that's one of the difficult ones to get rid of. As Amy said, she shouldn't really touch cash if both Mary and Chelsea are gone and she's the one there. She will, because we want to do that for our residents, right? I also, for any residents that come in and want to pay with cash, I'm not being rude, I promise, but I cannot touch the cash. That would be inappropriate, right? So it's when you have a small office like us without that redundancy for vacations and lunch breaks and things like that, it's really hard to mitigate. One thing we could look into in the future is part-time help that eliminates a lot of the legacy costs, but it does help provide some assistance on the back end. With this current budget, the way that it is, unless we bring in more revenue, I'm not ready to propose that yet, but it would be a huge help for us.
What about internships?
Internships, I would love to get some going. My only contention with that is to get a really good intern, I believe it should be paid at least like $15 an hour. One, it helps show that we value that intern and the work they do, and it also teaches them to value the work they're doing themselves. So my next step, if we were to pursue part-time, would be an internship.
So I have long shared that philosophy and have more recently adopted accepting of the unpaid intern. Never thought, I thought the same way you did. I thought, well, gee, if I were in this position, I would want this. And I look back when I was an intern, I was not paid. And we've recently had some unpaid interns that have been hired as full-time employees at our companies. And at first, when we, I think it was Dorsey or one of the schools, whatever school it was, when it brought forth this unpaid internship idea, I was like, well, that's not right. And I think, well, this is how our program works.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very pleased with how it worked, and we retained some full-time employees afterwards.
Yeah.
But that's their choice and their schooling, and how they get their funded. So just maybe be open-minded.
If council's willing to let me even go after like a fellowship for someone, I will absolutely start looking into that. So.
I'm on board. I mean, I
Okay.
emailed you months
Yeah.
ago on that one. I recommend it as well. I mean, the internship idea, I mean, it would lighten some of that workload, and then give somebody the experience needed, which, you know, across the state,
Yep.
all cities could you know, benefit from experienced workforce, and I see it as a win-win in general.
Probably just another recommendation, we get with legal, of course, you know, like back when the fire department was just like a stipend, $20-25 a call, I can't remember exactly what it is now. Maybe there's something they can give them, some kind of little something, to show some respect too, not just
Yeah.
completely free, but a little something.
I like
That
it.
could be funded, but.
Well, yeah, please, Councilwoman LaPointe, please.
Can I move on?
Please.
Okay. Are the raises in the budget, or what are there raises in the budget?
The raises are in the budget.
I'm sorry?
The raises are in the budget.
Wages are-
Oh, God.
There you go.
What was that?
She got close to the microphone and projected loudly.
Okay.
The city administrator, it looks like you created a new account for that position. Where was that before? I'm just curious.
That was previously within the DPW.
Yep.
Computer long range, 50 grand, is that the software?
That is not software, that is our IT. Yes.
We've taken a critical look at that, found some efficiencies, but yes, that is the individual that helps us.
And then water and sewer, we used to have water, and so I assume you just split those, right?
Yes. Yeah, I tried to split them based on the percentage of what we charge for water and sewer. I think it's like 60/40. So I tried to, I was trying to do it via that. This is going to be an experiment for me, so I asked council to please bear with me this year with these two new accounts.
We have already begun implementing more tracking of payroll and what they're spending on water, what time they're spending on sewer, so that we can make sure for our next budget, that's all in line in tracking.
Explain that yet when I'm through. And my final one is, there is a line item under, mayor and council for employee pension, and I don't know what that's for.
That is for our general, that's our general employees pension. You know, I don't know why I kept it there because it's always been there. It probably should be under general government, 272. But I want to,
I didn't know if the mayor was getting a pension, I just wanted
no, the mayor does not get a pension.
to move that to the right place.
I can. The only thing is that it wouldn't have the history on it automatically, so I would have to manually add that.
Verify the history on that one.
Yeah, that was before me.
Interesting.
So that was there before me. But we did have a deferred comp. One of our council people was getting deferred comp, which is just a portion of their salary.
Interesting. I have an action item left, not that we're taking action, but some takeaways that I want to further look into. I'll summarize them at the end.
So what are we gonna do with this? It'll stay there, you're gonna move it?
I can move it. The only thing that I was gonna say is that I would have to manually put the history in. So just to let you guys know that when I move it, I'm gonna have to manually put history in. Because when I create a new account, it doesn't, if I create a new account, because that's what I would do, I would create a new account and put it under 272, which would make more sense because that's general government. But when I create a new account, it doesn't provide you with the history when I put the spreadsheet together, so I would have to add
It's
the,
gonna take some time.
yeah, it's gonna be a project for a year, basically.
Sounds like she's gonna look to feasibly remove it, and then I would be curious on the history there.
Is this an Excel program?
Yeah, it's an Excel program, but I automatically download the majority of this out of BSNA. So most of these numbers get auto-generated. So something like that would be, the history would be something that I would have to manually input.
Because the history is in BSNA?
Yes. So it wouldn't automatically load it. Thank you, Rob.
But this is not, that amount that you have budgeted, this $12,725, is not going to any elected officials, correct?
Correct. That is going to our general employees pension, the one that is, I think, it's over 100% funded.
Yep, 124%.
Yep. Yep. No elected officials have a pension or health insurance. Well, not really. Well, yeah.
I just thought this.
None of nobody on city,
Not through the city.
yeah, nobody on city council has health insurance through the city.
Do you have anything else, Kathy?
No, thank you, sir.
Did you, anything over here? Cody, Rob, anything else on your end? Can I just summarize a couple of thoughts, just on key takeaway areas? Audit findings and feasibility of insight to action is a clear follow-up. So we'll pull together all the data points on that, and I think we could drive a discussion with council on that. Internships, sounds like you have conceptual, philosophical interest in that. Senior grants and sourcing, I know Amy contextualized that with the 20K, but maybe taking a look at that from a buildings or funding perspective, one-time versus perpetual. 28 to 38% fund balance principle for our administration, sounds like we're conceptually framing that. Stretchers, replacement windows, and what regulatory is driving said replacement windows. Cook Center, and the P&L considerations for broader, which I think Hannah and the team have been making great strides on, so I don't want to spoil a surprise, but it seems like the data is trending accurately. Voting machines and the future of Katie's pressure that she's facing from a state perspective and the funding reimbursement. Fire, we talked through some of the philosophical thought process. I think it's an incredibly important investment to support our sustainability of our fire department and its current capacity. Water license, we've had to expend a lot of money. Hopefully we're on a succession plan and a training education upskill that negates that cost over the long term. I think Benesh has brought a lot of value, but it's at a very high cost and it's been too long. And then the pension discussion we just had, it sounds like we'll try and adjust that line item. I would just be curious on any historical context there, if there's availability of that.
I mean, there wouldn't really be historical,
Okay.
because that was way before me.
Understood. All right, anything else from a key takeaway perspective that wasn't captured in that list?
I feel like we're ignoring you guys.
Did we get everything? All right, final call for any questions or comments on the budget before Rachel addresses the strategic priorities and context.
I would just say that from the communication I've had with some of the department heads, that this has been one of the most energetic processes that we've embarked on, and I think it's great that people are putting this much time and energy and effort into it. And not everybody's going to be pleased, and that's part of being responsible. And I think that the process that you guys have gone through this time is calculated. And I think that seeing people passionate about it is exactly what we want.
Love that, well said. Can I throw out one thought for you that you can address as you see fit? There were certain items that didn't make the cut.
Yes.
Would you like to comment on that for our council members?
Yes.
I think it's important. in context.
It's very important. It's just like pouring salt into some wounds. There were quite a few items that did not make the cut. We had to decrease a lot of our capital improvements in areas. One of them was, historically, the police department has received a new police vehicle every 2 years. We had a lot of conversations about this, and at the end of the day, with as much as we were having to pull from fund balance, we didn't feel it was an appropriate add in our budget recommendation. However, I did leave the window open for our police department that we do have fund balance. We don't want to draw too deep into it, but if they made a proposal to council, I would back it. With the caveat that right now what we've been doing is utilizing enterprise and we've kind of been renting it. That to me I would not like to utilize fund balance to incur debt. I would rather buy it outright. So that would be my one caveat for them coming to council with that proposal. But capital improvements, specifically in the DPW, they also would like a new dump truck. That had to be ixnayed as well. And for instance, we talked a lot internally about another staff member, and because that would help alleviate a lot of the stressors we face, but those also had to be ixnayed. As council knows, I even declined my pay raise that I'm contractually obligated to. So it was a tough budget, it was a tough year, but I truly feel that we are in a good place to really take account of everything we have, take account of our services, our needs, our expenses, and when we come back a year from now, I think we're gonna have a much better picture and be in a much better place.
Incredibly well said. Thank you, Rachel. Floor is back to you for strategic priorities.
Thank you. So before we get into this, in front of each of you is a little puzzle piece. I know budget time, strategic planning, it's not easy. You guys, as an elected body, are creating long-term plans and decisions that have long-term consequences for the city and what is best for our city. So I want you all to be aware and just to remember that you are a critical piece of the puzzle here. You guys know I really like puzzles. They're a great allegory. I love it.
Kathy's already ahead of the game.
So you each have a puzzle piece from me. So as we begin talking about this,
Thank you.
just remember that all of us are pieces of the puzzle, and we cannot make the city run unless we all work together. So if you look on the sheet before you, there's a key. The items that are italicized and in bold are budgeted for or already being worked on. So we'll take it section by section. The governance section, it was pretty clear. You guys all saw the raw data, so I'm sure you saw this. Seeking more grant opportunities was a huge want from all of you guys. So I wrote down kind of how that's ongoing. Currently, I did put the caveat again. I don't want to just hammer this home, but it is important to recognize that not all grants are free. A lot of them require a match of some kind, and they also come with significant administration. So our current grants that we're working on are Young Drive Bridge that has been submitted. I received a grant through SEMCOG to attend a grant writing intensive in October, which should help further this item, so dual purpose there. The Recast Leaders Program, MML, gave us a grant to participate in that to help learn how to support our small businesses. And we submitted to our U.S. congressional members for a fire department ladder truck with the support of our Michigan representative. So we're excited about those. The next item that is ongoing or budgeted for, this one is both, is more professional development and training opportunities. You'll see in the budget, all of us have a training budget for including the elected officials. I do encourage you guys to sign up for those trainings. I will do a better job of making sure that you know some reminders of what trainings are available to you and when they're happening. The last one under governance that was an absolute priority was within the bounds of our current tax rate, no new taxes. So as we just discussed, we are facing some pressures on that side of our budget sheet. So I explained that this would require some additional expense cuts or additional revenue sources. Our residents bear the brunt of our tax base, or they are the brunt of our tax base. I believe they're about 94% of our tax base. We do not have a lot of businesses sharing that burden for them, so I completely understand the desire to not increase taxes on them. However, it is important for council and the public to recognize that to continue service levels, we will have to eventually start considering increasing taxes, or we'd have to decrease service levels. So this one's kind of a flag for you guys that we can't sustain this forever, even with our healthy fund balance. Any questions on the governance side? Anything that you thought would end up here that wasn't? So by the way, all of these bullet points are exactly word for word what you guys wrote.
Yeah.
The sub-bullets are my comments on that.
I think beyond bridges, because I had put roads as a critical priority, I know that's obviously captured in our slides, funding capacity for roads.
Yep. So we'll add that to infrastructure as well.
And that's something that I hope to eventually see, because I know that the state said we would see more funding, but I have not seen it at this point.
Yep.
Thus, I was conservative in my estimates. So hopefully I can come to you guys with a first quarter revision and be like, yay, we're seeing it now. But I was conservative in my estimates because I have not started to see that yet.
And just because I'm thinking grants or any external source of
Yep.
dollar unlock for road replacement or repair.
Perfect. Anything else under governance?
Bless you.
Okay, so public safety, Someone wrote citizen safety. This one I'm gonna need a bit more direction and clarity on. Does anyone remember if they wrote that? Okay. We can circle back to it. These are obviously going to be ongoing conversations. So maybe I'll send an email to everyone asking if anyone remembers.
I didn't write that, but while we're on the subject, like,
Please.
I saw, again, a very small child in a golf cart, not strapped in a no helmet. It makes me cringe. And so if there's something that you're looking for to work on.
I'd only seen 12-year-olds riding.
And then
Yep.
on
motorized
those,
vehicles.
Sorry, was it?
thinking of Councilman Molnar warning us about hitting people. I'm coming out of Kingsbridge Drive, and the e-bikes now are on the sidewalks. And they're young,
Yeah.
young, that their brains aren't developed, and they're doing, I don't wanna exaggerate, I mean, he was doing 20, 25. And, you know, I have to be honest, I didn't stop like on this side of this sidewalk exactly, and I'm looking this way, cause school's letting out, they're coming this way.
Yeah.
And they're flying, and it's just gonna be, so are they allowed on the sidewalks?
We
No.
wrote, our police department put out a entire policy on
Okay. well,
electric bikes
great.
and
I hope
scooters.
our school liaison officers will go and like do some big rigmarole, because I would hate to see, and again, no
Yeah.
helmets. We can't force kids to wear helmets, but going at that speed, if I would've hit him,
It's becoming an increasingly problematic risk area,
Yeah.
for sure.
so I thought.
Nope, those are great flags, and they cost us nothing, so amazing.
I had put it on your radar, I believe, more in an offline conversation than the strategic priority list. Emergency preparedness and
Yes.
crisis management, I think is something we should get ahead of as a community. Like, protocols, procedures, this world is only getting weirder. And I would like us to be prepared with a clear policy and chain of command and act.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah, I think that was one of my, priorities
We
as
need
well
that.
for
We need
this
that.
term is,
So, sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good.
It could be natural disaster, it could be
Yeah.
a flood.
We sign on to Wayne County's.
We do.
Plan, but I think we
It's-
just sign the lines that they tell us to sign, more or less. and we
Yes.
don't
Yep.
Really go through with a fine tooth comb and adopt it from a practicality standpoint.
Yep, so we sign on to their plan more so because that opens us up to FEMA funding.
Exactly.
If we were to create our own plan that was FEMA eligible, it would be very extensive and costly. I completely agree. It's one of the questions I first asked Bruce when I got here was, what's our emergency action plan? So that is definitely something we are flagging. So
So I would-
thank you for reminding me of that, because I don't think that was on that color sticky note. It might have been on the other one, but
It's here on the wish list, I'm looking at it.
I think we have
yeah,
a three-page one at our business that's
Yeah.
just short, sweet, and simple, so that if there is a catastrophe, call this person.
Exactly.
Something pretty simple, but at least we have
yeah,
something that everybody acknowledges.
Agreed.
exactly. Yep, you need the chain of command, you need the phone tree of, okay, so, yeah. No, I
And
completely
like
agree.
differential pass for what could be a lot of different events that could transpire.
And, in conjunction with the charter, continuity of government and so on.
Yeah,
Agreed.
all
Cool.
right.
It's on that raw data you sent us, so.
Yeah,
It says
so,
it there in that
Yeah.
parchment, it says citizen safety, so that is it.
okay.
That might have been mine.
So the raw data, just to give you guys context, this list is all of the priorities, not the wish list. So when you see them on the Excel spreadsheet, they don't necessarily line by line correlate with each other because it's just list. But yeah,
It's just a coincidence then.
it's a coincidence,
lucky one.
but I like it, yes, so thank you.
That's amazing.
I love it. The second item under public safety was a second part-time ordinance officer. So the cost for this would be an ongoing cost, about $34,000. So is this something council wants to consider at this time, table it for a year, see what happens?
I would say
don't-
table it for a year.
And I think I would recommend, I want to engage in the discussion, but there's so much data we would need to have an informed discussion on this topic that we
Yeah.
don't have sitting in front of us, so I would hate to start signaling a direction.
Talk about it at strategic priorities?
I'm sorry?
Can we talk?
I think we should take it as an action to like talk
Yeah.
about it, yeah.
Because I don't know about ongoing, but I mean, I think we should,
Like existing data would help,
spring.
Oh,
Oh,
temporary,
like seasonal.
a seasonal one, yeah.
You know,
Okay,
just
yep.
hire somebody to come in and do it and couldn't think
So I know we get the reports, but I think it'd be helpful to look at the bigger picture trends and seasonality
Yeah.
and,
I think we're, I
considerations.
think we're just enforcing by complaint.
Well, you have to also look at, like, do we have the right structured ordinances? And then,
And I don't know, but I'm gonna find out.
and to what extent do we want to be proactive in our enforcement? Like, all of these are strategic questions I think we need to have that warrant a much bigger discussion than today,
Yeah.
my opinion.
Can we put on that caveat?
No, but please,
No, we have the ordinances.
yeah.
Can we put as a caveat that we would possibly discuss having some kind of animal ordinance training, or maybe they could cross-train David, whoever is the ordinance officer? We don't have any, I don't know
Yeah,
what
for-
kind of support we have in the city of Gibraltar for rabid animals or any kind of animal.
Yeah.
It gets pretty
Enforcement.
political, I'll tell you that, because people don't like being told what they can do on their own property, and there's that school of people. And then the other people that don't want to look at their trash and clean up your.
And I
So
think
it's a tough one.
one thing that I want, which we could do as a follow-up, but part of that is because, like, Kathy, I think as I like sit with DDA or be a part of the planning and DDA meetings, as I sit with all these other forums, I hear from residents, I think we also should level set folks on where we have leaned in and enforced, because I don't think people see the bigger picture. Like, the headline sentiment might be we're reactive and only controlling it when it's noisy, but like, there's so much work that's been done, including Blight or others, that people just don't probably see, and I would love for us to be able to show that data to this group so that we have that context point versus what might be a headline of an experience that might be more focused or point in time driven. Just saying.
Yeah. But I do concur with Councilman Bosmer about some animal enforcement or something along those lines. Had several residents reach out about that, whether it's loose animals or large rodents.
Might be able to tap into the Department of Agriculture too. There might be some cross-training, some free training
Yeah.
for the ordinance officer.
Pivoting, now Bruce would jump out of his chair if he was here, but I'd say it to his face. Our regular officers can write ordinance violations.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all clear.
Yeah.
And yes, we only probably have one person in a car at a time, and you can't take a call, and that would be the priority. But there's a lot of driving time.
Yeah.
I think there's a really good discussion to be had here with data and more information.
And so you had a young,
100%.
so you had a young child in your house get bit by a dog that broke a chain or broke a leash like I did. It's a little more close to home for me, at least. I know it's not for everybody, but that was a pretty traumatizing thing for that young girl to go through at the time.
All right.
It
So,
sounds like there's a passionate area of follow-up.
yep. Thank you. So the next item was walkway lighting by Carlson and Semcog Street. So again, I wrote this verbatim. So I'm assuming that means Semcog Streets grant potentially for that. So we could seek funding for that in 2027 from Semcog. We would need to plan on some sort of match. I don't remember what the match is for that kind of grant, but the cost per streetlight based on the 2022 pricing we had for street lamps was about $700 per streetlight.
I will just plant the seed that I know there's been turnover in administrations at Brownstown or other neighboring communities, but there was a large passion to combine forces in partnership with the school district for like this type of activity. And when I was sitting on SEMCOG, there was a lot of appetite for that. So I think we should
Okay.
get our SEMCOG representatives, consider our neighbors in context of a stronger force and collaboration, and pursue this one as possible, because I don't even
Yeah,
know.
they're pretty big on the Safe Streets
Yep.
initiative.
Agreed, so that's where I think that might not be something that's as high of a financial commitment for us as we might expect.
Perfect. Oh, and kind of on that topic, the county has been sending out information about a pathway. It's currently going from Ecorse to Trenton. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, do you guys have any interest in bringing it further down West Jefferson, connecting the wildlife refuge to the Metro Park and kind of completing that loop through Wayne County? So I am actively having conversations with them about that because I think that would be a great benefit for our community.
Also, SEMCOG was had quite a good appetite on that project when we had proposed it in 2023. Our only issue was the match, that it
Yeah.
couldn't be federally funded, but they were extremely adamant about that being a plan that they
Yeah.
would also tag on, so that would be 80% funded. through their transportation alternative plan, so the TAP, it would be a TAP grant. And I believe they were also willing to be part of the grant writing process and the planning process for that.
Great.
So
Thank
that,
you.
that might be something to put in the county's ear,
Yeah.
that they wouldn't have to foot the whole bill. We could probably, but SEMCOG, that would be a next year
Yeah,
kind of ask for them. I think we've passed
Yeah.
that point, and it's usually the regional review committee that, if I recall correct, it'll be the regional review committee that will give the final seal of approval on that, and it doesn't have to go to the full General Assembly. So,
and one thing, I've had some conversations with Amy O'Leary at SEMCOG, and they've expressed to me that Gibraltar really hasn't tapped into their grants thus far, so the next one we get, there is a high confidence that we'll be able to achieve it. So,
Kevin Vitrano is
Yep.
also very good, and there's a Brian Powlick, who, Brian would probably be the main guy to talk to on the project. Kevin is more of their oversight on planning.
Yeah.
But Brian's actually over in Groseal, so he's very
Yep.
familiar with the area and the project when it was proposed to them in 2023.
Like it.
thank you.
It would, if we did projects like that, and we were, we would then have responsibility for maintenance of them going forward, correct?
It depends on what the agreement is, because it gets tricky, because technically that's not our road, that's the county's road. So there is a world in which we'd say, well, hey, we'll partner with you, but it's your road, your duty to maintain it. So it depends on what they're open to, and so, good question, though. All right, so the next question was, or the next item was kind of a lot. Again, I wrote it exactly verbatim. So boat grant funding with match, public safety patrol for fire department rescue for DPW buoy repairs and waterways, and Lowell has city-owned space for docking. So I flagged this as this is something we could potentially seek grant funding or donations for. The cost would depend on the type of boat and the usage. However, we would likely need to plan for a match on this.
We talked about this before, and one of the biggest challenges is operational.
Yep.
You'd have to, your operator would have to be a licensed captain. You'd have to, we would have to increase the cost of our fire department, police department significantly to be able to man these vessels.
Yeah,
Something to consider when
Yeah.
looking at these.
yeah.
I think he's spot on, and when we were exploring somebody who offered dollars towards a avenue in this, we looked at some of those trade-offs, and it's quite a cost consumption.
Does Downriver
Yeah.
Mutual Aid have a boat right now, like if something happens? I know they live in Gibraltar.
Yeah, we have a emergency fire rescue boat.
Oh. I
Yeah.
didn't- Okay.
They use it to do their water training as well for the fire department, so.
They
We should see it
practice-
pretty
sorry,
soon.
They practice on ice rescue as well.
Yep.
And, yeah, between Flat Rock, Gibraltar, and Groseal, they've got pretty decent training on it.
So why would we need another boat?
This is what you guys wrote down.
Depends on what the boat you're going to look to get. Fish and Wildlife Service has grant money for those purposes. You don't have to have a, 50-foot Boston whaler or something, Just, my thought was, not that I want over police protection, but the waterways, people are going up and down and breaking wake all the time. There's no presence on the waterways in Gibraltar for any kind of enforcement whatsoever. It's always left on the fellow resident to be mindful of the wake that they create, which we all know they do if you live on the water, which I do. I wasn't aware of the captain licensure portion of that. We do have, in the late 50s and early 60s, we had a boat patrol for Gibraltar Police Department. And just like the bike patrol they use sometimes, I don't know if it's cost effective to be willing to go that far into it, but just something to look at, and thought that would be beneficial for the community. If a little kid falls in the waterways and we're going for search and rescue, and that little flotation boat isn't enough to give support for that.
You gotta get the flotation boat in the water. Where do you put it in at? I mean, run over to the park?
But there could be,
Launch
there
it?
could be some type of a patrol scenario where they're partnered up with, you know, somebody else's, like Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Exactly.
Wayne County has a boat patrol as well.
Yeah.
So
I was
can you
gonna
partner with
say,
them? Can they dock in Gibraltar
The
at
county
Lowell?
sheriff,
Right.
you know, the sheriff's department. could
It's
help
bigger
patrol.
thought, bigger picture. We can talk
Yeah.
about the,
And previously, our, Matt Lawyer, remember when he was chief, he, communicated with the sheriff's department, and had him bring that little, their, Zodiac that doesn't have the,
T-top
yeah, the T-top, and so they brought that through.
bridge.
At his request, on a few occasions when they felt like enforcement was necessary, or presence nonetheless was necessary, and they partnered in that fashion to provide the similar type of coverage.
I've seen that.
I mean, if we have one person on the road, I think that person needs to be in a car.
do we still have the bicycles that have the wigwam and the,
We do still have bicycles,
do
yes.
they ever get out and use those? Do you know?
Not frequently, no. They use them on the 4th of July,
Okay.
mainly. That is something I encouraged them just a few weeks ago. I was like, come on, guys, nice day, let's go out on the bikes. Yeah, cars are more practical for them.
Around the ATV.
Yeah. All right, next, under services, the first bullet point, we've got half of it. The Assistant DPW Director position added, so we've got that going. A big takeaway from that one also was funds for a 4th full-time position. Amy and I did the calculations, and depending on the contract approval, which we're still waiting on the union to vote on that, by the way, it would cost $85,100 to $100,700 with all of the benefits. So, again, we are not, as much as we believe we could use that additional staff, we don't believe it's fiscally responsible at this point. The next item was the LED, which I believe just means electronic sign to update residents with the location TBD. I did a brief cost estimate, and it ranges from $15,000 to $30,000.
I believe we did have one at one point, and it was,
It was-
pardon my language, but it was pretty crappy from what I've heard.
That's what I've heard too,
mean,
yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not too on board with that, so.
I'll say this, not only can they be pretty crappy at times, but they're difficult to update and manage. Obviously, some systems are better than others, but if it goes down, then you sometimes have a situation where it doesn't just like turn off, it's just stuck on one screen that may be broadcasting an event from like 2 weeks ago. So they can, as great as they are with keeping residents updated, they can also be really great at misinformation just based off of practically not working anymore. Like, for instance, if there's an emergency, if we type in there like some sort of emergency or road closure and it's not working, that could cause problems.
I think my personal opinion is I wouldn't be a huge fan of the aesthetics of this as it relates to the nature of our community, and just a flashing LED sign to me
I mean,
doesn't
I
really
like
fit
the
vibe.
intent, I think.
I think
Yeah,
the,
you know,
but
the
intent
intent,
is
which is
The
informing residents,
communication, yeah.
and I think that's an interesting thing to further explore, and there's probably actually lower
Yeah.
cost ways that better fit the aesthetic of our community that we can do that, in addition to our social activity, our website activity, our
Yeah.
newsletter activity.
Our
So,
information would be just good enough.
You know,
Yeah.
social media and
We
all
don't
that,
need
so
something
it's
that
not-
big.
Yeah.
yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Or maybe we could do something, you know, at the community center, I don't know if it has to be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another alternative, but I don't like it at the gate, you know, at the West Traffic Center.
I think the thought was maybe lower by the community center, maybe attached to the building itself on the side of it, or lower. You could put it wherever you want to, and the advent of updating it is there, so.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not on
Noted.
social media. I go to the website, but a lot of people need alternate methods of finding the information.
And like reinforcement, right? Because it's not just like that's point in time versus like if you saw it visually throughout the day, then you'd
Right.
further remind yourself.
Oh, yeah, Music Park this week, I'm gonna do that, or,
Which kind of reminds me that one of the things that I had in my notes was like signage related to key events. I say this because I've even been like after an amazing event in the city, like walking banks down my street, and I'm like, yeah, would you go to this? And they're like, what do you mean? I had no idea. So and it's like, so my point of that is, I'm not saying we blast signage all over but there's clearly not a reach of the entire community or retention of events. And so if they're seeing it at a point in time, they might forget it, not put it on the calendar. So I think there is a strategic opportunity for further reinforcement, and I think you do that visually.
Yeah.
I think about even like music in the park, right? Like that's obviously visual because you see it when you drive by, but if you've already made plans, that negates the point. But like,
So one thing in addition to signage that a lot of communities do that our website currently does not offer us the ability to do is send out alerts, not through Nixle, but just general information and news alerts with like photos, like, hey, you sign up for email or text message or even phone call, and we will send you updates on all the events happening in town, regular updates. We internally would love to get a new website that affords us some of this ability, including the contact us page. So that's something we're playing with internally, but it would come at a cost. So again, not part of this budget proposal, but that is something that I do think long-term would definitely be worth it.
Was the pothole, I guess, reports deployed yet? And how's that?
Has it been deployed
Working
yet,
out.
Katie?
It is on the website.
I have not received any yet, so I did not know if it was deployed yet.
Oh,
I get
Yeah.
texts, so.
Well, just so everyone's aware, because I haven't announced this publicly, apologies for missing last meeting. We now have on our website a spot where residents can fill out a form notifying us of a pothole, and it gets sent directly to myself, which I will then farm out to the appropriate department head to take care of that. We also are deploying a contact us form, but it's not part of our website, so it's a bit more difficult to manage, but any questions or concerns, residents can easily, instead of looking up a phone number or an email, they can just go type in whatever comment or question they have and receive a response that way. So we're trying to work on enhancing communication with residents in those methods as well.
That's really cool.
It's a voicemail system, it's not
No,
fine.
no, not at all. Yes.
Call in sometime,
Yeah.
it's fun.
To City Hall? You get to hear my voice.
It'd be nice if a person could answer, but like, you know, if you know the director by that, well, I don't know their name. I mean, I'm just, you know,
Yeah.
devil's advocate, you know.
Yeah.
Can we answer the telephone?
Can you answer the
Can
telephone?
anybody just pick up the phone? Like, can't we do we have the staff, no matter who you call, I know non-emergency, I know
Yeah.
the routing. But can somebody just answer the phone?
Yeah, we do it. So, like, for instance, if Mary and Chelsea aren't there, Amy or Katie answer the phone. The other day, Amy and I were talking to the mayor. Mary and Chelsea weren't there, so Amy and I were both answering the phones. That was fun. It was chaos, but I probably talked longer than I should have to some of the residents because I was on the phone with them for like 7 minutes. We were having productive conversations, but it's not often that they call the general line and they get me, and then so it's fun. I enjoy just answering the phone. So yeah, if you're ever in the office, I would just identify yourself and just say, "Thank you for calling. This is Councilwoman LaPointe. How can I help you today?"
Yeah, no?
And
yeah, no.
that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, we try to manage the phones as best as we can. The next item, moving away from the sign, was lowering costs. So this was a fun year for that challenge, guys. So we did lower some of our expenditures, but that does not translate. We did also decrease the millage based on both Headley and some of the bonds being rolled back, so good news there. We are also working on the water rate study. This is free to us as part of our Michigan Rural Water Authority membership. Council received an email earlier today. Some of you responded back. Thank you. Letting you know that you can sign up for a one-on-one session with the data analyst who handled our water rate study, so he can walk you through it step by step, and you can ask any questions you want to without feeling like you need to censor your questions or anything for public consumption. Please ask away. Amy and I went through it with Kyle, and I gave him a very broad scope of I want to find a way to decrease water costs, and you guys will see how that turned out. Headline is, we believe we may have a path forward to decrease on the water side, but on the sewer side, it does not look like that is the case. And separately with that conversation, Councilman Cox and I are both working with Shuva to identify why the look-back structure was put in place, and if there's any appetite for changing to a pay-as-you-use for what you use model. Unfortunately, we are just one part of that conversation. However, being the community that is consistently receiving a very large look-back, we think us bringing that conversation forward should have some weight.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it is.
An ongoing problem too, it's like we're up
Yeah.
and down, nobody can understand why.
Well, the numerics are loud. The last 3 years, we've gotten 550 grand back in total.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an insane amount of dollars that we're putting up front to get back.
Exactly. Yeah.
To reinforce that would, I don't know, again, we keep talking about resolutions, but an approved resolution, you know,
Of, like,
whether,
support
yeah,
for-
from the city of Gibraltar, and then we can ask, you know,
Yeah,
or
I-
even reach out to our neighbors on something like that to Shuva.
Yeah, that is, we're just at the beginning phase of this conversation,
understand.
specifically with the accountant, but that's definitely something we'll be looking into. And I'll be reaching out to Flat Rock, who just had to pay a substantial sum to Shuva, whereas we're getting money back. Some of our counterparts are having to pay significant sums. So we're gonna hopefully not leverage them, but encourage them to partake in this conversation with us. Okay, and then lastly, under this item, the mayor flagged to me separately after this lower cost, the desire to have a tax study done. So I've opened the conversation with our assessing department, and we're working through what that would entail, what that would cost. How does council feel about that one? Good, okay, sorry, we'll
I was
continue.
in La La Land for a second. What was that?
A tax study to basically assess our tax rates. Are they appropriate for our expenditures? Is everyone being taxed legally, fairly, all of that? Okay. As well as longer range legislative considerations. So I will continue working that pathway. So the next item is infrastructure. These were all the items everyone placed on that list. So what I said for all of them is the costs are TBD, and we would need to work with FMB on one, a capital improvement plan to help identify the priority structure of these based on structural and all of their fun things, including the PACER, which is listed here. And one thing I want to flag, and we've talked about this in the infrastructure committee, is when we start looking at replacing roads, we need to seriously consider the age of the water mains underneath them, because there's no point in replacing a road and then 5 years from now having to go back in, tear up that brand-new road and replace the water or sewer. So that's something that when I begin working with FMB is going to be a first priority is, okay, when you start giving us pathways for this, I need you to think of everything in context.
So on that topic,
Yeah.
I know that it often, when we think of it in that light of doing everything, it becomes cost prohibitive.
Yes.
And sometimes we, you know, if we have a road that needs to be replaced and we go, geez, we need to do what's underneath it as well, but gosh, we can't do both. we historically have struggled finding.
The balance.
Staying on the path.
Yeah.
And so, I know that, there are times when we're just doing the paving.
Yeah.
We're just doing the paving, and may we need to rip this up in 5 years? We might. But we're just gonna do the paving.
Yeah.
And there are times for that. There really is, because not every time can.
Yeah.
It just, yeah.
I completely agree. One thing I'll say with that is when that's the case, you should do more so a Band-Aid
Yes.
thing instead of something that will only last you 5 to 10 years versus, yeah. So those are all considerations I think we need to really take into account.
That's how Jefferson is resurfaced every 7 years about
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the county, so.
Love it. All right, thank you. Moving on to, guys, this is such a good one. Parks and Rec. Every item under here is being worked on and is budget neutral. So, fishing tournament with collaboration across communities. We are actively having conversations with how we can operate that. We are working consistently on teaming up with other organizations, schools, clubs, including our local manor, and then setting up contracts for classes and instructors, programs to rent CC for resident activities. At the next council meeting, you guys will receive that as well. So we have been, when I say we, I mean mainly Hannah. She grabbed the bull by the horns, and she has been doing a lot of great things for our community, including Card Club every Wednesday and Friday. I highly recommend even our elected officials stop in. It's a great opportunity for some FaceTime with Hannah and a great chance to play some cards. She's very good, by the way. So.
Are they getting a good turnout for that?
Not yet, no. One of the problems she's facing is everyone's calling, asking about it, and saying, well, I don't want to be the only one there. So when you have multiple people calling, it's like, well, just show up because we want all of you there. So please encourage everyone to come. She has not given up yet. I think it's a great program. It's a great opportunity, especially for those in our community that aren't doing something from noon to 3 on Wednesdays and Fridays, to just go gather together, have a nice little session. So yeah, she's doing great work, and I'm really excited to see where the Parks and Recreation program can go. As a side note, she is also about to launch an adult softball league. So that will be coming sometime this week. I think she's announcing that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
So.
I already got my team name figured out.
Perfect. Yeah, so that will be released later this week. She's got the schedule and everything, so we're excited about that. All right. Lastly, other priorities. This first one was AI for water operator and applicable billing/financial procedures. The first one is not feasible or acceptable to Eagle. They do require an actual person to be our water operator, but I think we've solved that in the other ones. However, we can look into AI programs for items like record keeping in minutes. I'm sure Katie would thank us sincerely, as well as event booking and payments. The new bank is going to help automate some of the processes through direct deposit for accounts payable as well, which is also going to save us money on checks. So yay for that. But essentially, if council feels passionate about this, we can absolutely start looking into additional AI programs for event booking and record keeping minutes. What's council's appetite on that one? Should I drop it and focus on other things, or?
Well, I think you just need more
Moving.
detail, right? AI
Yeah.
is increasingly utilized to drive efficiency and effectiveness, so just what's the cost and where would you play with it?
Yep, okay.
I don't know if this is even related, but if we're gonna, we have something in place to, for paying water bills. But,
Yes.
Maybe we could just start there and try to promote that a little more.
Mhm.
Because that would free up a lot lot of time at the counter, I think,
Yeah.
to do that.
I think, yeah, I like that a lot. And I think day job considerations, like I have gotten licenses for all my employees on things like as simple as Microsoft Copilot or other tools that are amazingly productive drivers for day to day. So like office staff, I think we should think about that because it's game changers. Simple tasks that would take a lot longer will,
Can I get Adobe?
like, I'm serious. Like if you think, like you drive immense productivity in that. And
Yeah.
the licenses are very cost effective for the productivity
Yeah.
drivers.
People go on, I mean, it's just like, we just need to do that.
Yeah.
Put it on the water bill so people, and then maybe at the credit parties, we can
Yeah.
get promoted.
One of the things Hannah's actually looking at as well is some technology training for our seniors. So that could be part of it. I know we have a large senior population who typically does not pay their water bills online. They pay it in person. So maybe with some additional technology training, we can incorporate that as part of the training. So, yeah.
What is it, fee? Remind me, is it $1 or a percentage or?
I think it's 3% if you pay with
Three-
credit card.
3.25 with a credit card. If you schedule it for auto payment out of your bank account, it is 50 cents, so it is less than the cost of a stamp.
I got that.
Nice.
How much are we saving? We should look at that again, maybe for free. We want this to happen. I mean, honestly, this is how cheap I am. I stopped because I said, I will walk over, ride my bike up there. Just the principle of the thing. We're even.
I love you for that.
I
I love you for
We don't
that.
have to pay the water bills.
No,
It's because seniors think that.
Yeah.
Amy's got a punchline for you. though.
Yeah,
I
I
was
completely
gonna-
I
agree,
saw her
but
perking up.
Talk about, that's all. I know.
I would not recommend it with the 3.25%, possibly with the 50 cents, but not with that 3.25%, because during COVID times, that added up to quite a bit of money.
here's the other thing with that. Actually, as a government agency, we cannot legally pay the credit card processing fee.
And nor can we legally force people to not be utilizing cash. I said, why not
Exactly.
convert everybody electronic?
Yeah.
And that's not a legal option. So
Yes.
my point is that your system as you know it, you don't have a lot of flexibility in that system.
But we will try to promote it more.
Let's pressure test the regulations to see if there's any clever ways to
Yeah.
address that.
All right.
I think it's amazing.
No, I do the same thing.
Even with the 50-cent
Yeah.
auto deduct.
But we encourage everyone at home, if you'd like to save some time, because time is money, pay online. That's a way to look at it. So the next was a coffee shop in the old Sunseekers building. So two things with this. One, we can encourage development, we can't force development. However, the Recast Leaders Program is looking into how to re-energize some of our vacant buildings and support small local businesses, and that property owner doesn't know it yet, because we're not to that portion, but that is a key target for us.
Well, and I want to just be clear, there was the individual affiliated with said building proposed said coffee shop for which
Yeah.
was put in front of planning, for which I think I've continued to ask both on that project as well as on the gas station, how do we get a better connection established for the future trajectory and what the city can do to support
Yep.
business activity? And there's a lot of other grants and considerations we could probably surround sound on to promote business activity that's practical.
Yep, and that's what the Recast Leaders Program is all about, is helping us do that. So we're working
that
on
through?
that. The Recast Leaders is from, it's Recast City, but it's in partnership with MML.
Okay.
Yeah. Bless you.
Whatever happened,
Bless you.
Bless you.
whatever happened to that coffee shop?
That's what you were
Whatever
saying.
happened to it came, it
That's what I'm,
came in front
I
of planning.
asked the building.
Whatever happened to that?
The building department's probably getting sick of me because I ask all the time.
This is about the drive-through, but there's a drive-through
I
that's
think it's
there.
about the,
It was
yeah.
gonna be a
I don't think there was,
drive-through
I think
coffee
there's
shop.
it's a topic we should follow up on. I think there was a misinterpretation of the objection because I don't think there's a strong objection, but
Okay.
anyways, that's my opinion.
Free coffee
Thank
at
you.
Art's house.
All right, the next item was develop current Head Key Park. It's very much along the same theme, into a place to have a developer manufacture a strip mall to gain city residential services. The Recast Leaders Program is looking into all avenues of supporting small local businesses in the DDA. And the DDA is also separately looking at how to implement the goals that they've set from the master plan. for the DDA district. So both of those are ongoing and will help support development throughout the city. I don't want to say development, that's a big buzzword, but small business growth throughout the city.
That'd be great.
And the last thing, good news, is strategy for parking and paid parking addition to downtown district. The Department of Public Safety is actively working on a parking plan, and we would then give it to the engineers to be able to design it all with legal parking limits and all of that based on width. And they will be able to provide us with a cost estimate along with what it would cost for their technical support. And the key takeaway for this one is that we would likely be able to use DDA funds, and they have a healthy fund balance to cover that. Yep.
Can I add something for thought? I just thought,
Absolutely.
just clicked with me. The nonprofits that we have available in town, Sunseekers, the Firefighter Association, the Goodfellows, Kiwanis, Rotary, others, they partner with, like, in Detroit, you can like rent a bike, not a scooter, but a bike. And then they got like Health Alliance Plan as a sponsor on that, and they put
Yeah.
some branding on it. And then you have a paid meter deal where they pay like a few bucks to go out and take the pathways that are throughout Gibraltar,
Yeah.
Metro Park, and the International Wildlife Refuge, along with this parking, somewhere they can designate a spot that's city-owned, and then we can partner with a nonprofit to actually take care of the maintenance of it, so it's not an overcost for us or more of a burden on
Yeah.
our city. So something along those lines, that penciling enough, my thought. I think that'd be nice to have. I don't know if it's 15 or 30 bikes or whatever, not a huge amount, but people come here, they can park on a bike. They don't want to bring their bike in the back of their Dodge Omni.
It seems like something we could partner with a marina for, who has people come from out of town to dock. Not looking at anyone in particular. But that's something maybe we could drive down. So I like that. All right. That's all I had for this. Thank you guys for participating
Thank
both
you.
in this and the budget session. Does anyone have any final thoughts, concerns before I turn it back over to the mayor?
I'm not fighting hard for the sign, but if we do decide to make it palatable, sizable, I know the person that actually helped sell it to Kibbe back in the day, and there was communication, like, you're making it too bright, you can control it, and then somebody got in there and like took it apart and like voided the whole warranty on it. I know a little more inside baseball on that thing. Anyway, maybe it's 8 by 8 and it's on the side of the recreation building. Somewhere it's not an eyesore for our community either. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want that. And just, I get the maintenance of it as far as, not the maintenance, but the programming it and getting the message
Yeah.
to be in sync with what's really going on. So, just a key place where it would fit the community's needs.
Yeah.
I agree, because a lot of times, if I'm driving by the community center and I see a bunch of vehicles going on.
Right.
If I have no idea what's going on there, I'm not gonna stop. I don't know, it could be a wedding, I'm not invited.
Right.
But if it's card day and everybody's playing.
Right.
Whatever the cards they play, and it's free coffee, maybe I'll stop and play.
We just had this fishing,
You're right. I forgot to mention, there's free coffee at Card Day. Thank you.
There you go.
but like the fishing thing that was going on. I was like, why
Sexy
are there
day.
all those people at Captain Jim's? I didn't know it was an event going on that day. That'd be nice if we saw it on a sign somewhere. I would've been like, oh, maybe I'll stop by and see what's going on at Captain Jim's.
I think the community center would be a good location for that, and it would be just a heads up, if there is gonna be a large wedding, we know that, overflow parking is going to be challenging. Right?
Yeah.
But again, if there's a community event there and I didn't get the memo, and I just happen to be driving by, I would enjoy to stop and say hello, but if I happen to know, I just assume it's a private event.
Right.
And I mean, I don't wanna crash it.
Yeah. So,
That sign.
Yeah. All right. I will look into all of that. Thank you.
All right, any final comments? Just align with the opening, tremendous thanks to Rachel, Amy, department heads, for preparing us to have the discussion we had today. Rachel, special thanks for the strategic planning and context. I think it's a really important discussion to have in light of the budget discussion, so thank you so much. I feel like we're in a very strong position financially. I feel like we have a good path to a public hearing on the 11th for further public input. I feel like we have a lot of long-term considerations that we need to carefully consider in front of us to maintain our trajectory or manage downside risk. And I feel like today was a really good starting point for all of that. And I really love the tale of the strategic planning, so we can consider dollars and trade-offs in context of need. So thank you all so much for a great discussion and study session. So there's no motions, but I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Thank you to the two of you for hanging out with us this entire time. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we leave? Well, come on up. You were so patient. I really appreciate it. So floor is yours.
I just really wanted to know if we got anywhere with McKenna on getting our
Make sure you ask a question to the mic so everybody can hear. Yeah.
30490 South Gibraltar Road. I just want to know if discussions with getting some more from our building department, because we're only getting 5%. And I thought you mentioned that you were trying to negotiate that, so I was just curious.
Yes, so I just got off the phone with them earlier today. They actually had, based on less permits over the last year, a 30% decrease in their own revenue for the building department from the city of Gibraltar. So they don't have a lot of wiggle room with us. What I have discussed is bringing in the planning to that contract. We've been working with Jane on a lot of things. She has a lot of things ongoing right now. If we do that, there can be some wiggle room as well as additional planning support. So I'm awaiting the actual proposed document right now, but unfortunately, not a ton of wiggle room, but some.
Well, before we had Trenton, then we had Brownstown. And your same inspector right now was the same one that was from Brownstown before. And plus we had to spend $27,000, I think it was, just for the software, which we would have got for free from Brownstown. So I just, that's just one thing that stuck with me on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Joe, we had McKenna back in the late 90s.
Did we really?
McKenna was our building department until, I think, 99 or 2000. And then we went to in-house, and then we started farming it out to other cities before we went back to McKenna 5 years ago.
Yeah, throwback. Exactly. Lenore, thank you so much for your patience. Floor is yours.
No, that's okay. I want to bring these up now because you talked about them today, if
Yeah.
you don't mind.
Yeah.
So I have notes from each one when you spoke. So regarding understanding coverage at the desk or whatever, and you're talking either interns or part-time for vacations and stuff like that, I'm not opposed to an intern, but the only thing I would say about an intern, depending on where you get the intern, I remember when I used to get interns, I had a huge turnover. That's not something you want, especially in the, handling cash with the residents and stuff like that. So I think we need to be careful of that. But have you considered, we have seniors, yes, I'm on right here, but what about a senior who worked in accounting or something? Would they not want a part-time job? And it could be, hey, your hours are to cover lunch, 11 to 1 or something like that. Also, this person's here, these people are going on vacation, you schedule them up. Hey, so they know what their schedule is, and it's not all the time. So it's another option, I'm thinking, just to
I love
throw
it.
out.
Are we hearing subtly that you may want to be in City
No,
Hall?
no,
Sounds like me, no, I'm not answering the phone, no.
no,
I appreciate the suggestion. Thank you.
no, no, okay. So, wait, where's the other one? As far as, maybe I should talk to Hannah about it, but I understand, and it does sound like we're not using the Cook Center as much because of the expenses and stuff like that. You have a lot of crafty people in this town. What if you were to consider turning that into like booths, that they were able to be set up in there full-time, and they do pay rent, but that does bring people into the community as well. We have a lot of people who are very crafty here in town, and they do go around to other things. You could also have a person with bakery items or whatever it is. I don't know. So has she thought of that or something?
That's something that we're highly considering with the Recast Leaders program. So you hit the nail on the head. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, because I know a lot of people are always looking for it, and it's right there. So I don't know what the rent would be, but they could stay set up there permanently, so you're not pulling it back out again. I mean, as a person who used to do a lot of that stuff, I'd carry my stuff all over, and I did not like that, so.
We're gonna give you an extra 30 seconds because we spoke during your time, so you got 30 more seconds.
Okay. Regarding AI, your comment regarding AI, that means adding information to a data center. Are we sure we want to do that? So,
Lenore, thank you so much.
thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, no further comments. Thank you all so much for a great discussion. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for tuning in.